on what we've learned and how you can build on your skills. Good afternoon. My name is Matapelo Tipe, and I'm from SchoolNet South Africa. And happy Scratch Week. It is indeed a fascinating time where everybody takes some time out to just play around and see how they can develop using Scratch. The session. Right, let's get started. Today's learning targets will be to understand the difference between professional programming and Scratch programming. We'll also be looking to learn about the Scratch basic components, and then we will learn how to create a simple project. I see that there's someone who's just sent through a chat. Okay, so these are just greetings in. Right, so when we look at coding, we realize that from the foundation of coding speaks to computational thinking. Sorry about that. Computational thinking. And these are the skills that are required basically by all citizens because they grant the ability to solve problems where you are able to plan carefully in solving the problem. And it involves a lot of logic, assessment, and automation around it, and generalization. So the foundation of it all is around being able to solve problems and using different, in this instance with block coding, using the different blocks to sort of create a solution. And coding, the foundation of coding does that. And the next block, the next building block towards being a programmer, that's if you are looking to become the world's greatest programmer someday. The next building block then becomes block coding. And block coding speaks to the likes of Scratch, like we're presenting today. And this is the type of coding that allows someone to learn coding without the complications of coding language. So no HTML or JavaScript or any complex elements that come with coding. So it's what you see as a coder in this building block is just the blocks, like we will demonstrate in this session, and putting those blocks in order to possibly solve a problem, create a game, or create a story using sort of animations within the blocking environment. The third element around, or the third building block, becomes the physical coding. This is when we merge the two. So we merge the block coding and the computational thinking skills. And when they merge, then you also obviously would be using block coding as a programming language. However, the complex coding is not involved. So you'd imagine things like your Lego, your Spark robots. So those elements where you are able to code using block, add elements around possibly basic robotics, and elements such as that, and that's how you get then your third building block, which is your physical coding type of element. And then the fourth one becomes the front end of coding. We say front end because you sit in front of the screen as a developer, but what you are actually doing is you are building the back end of possibly a mobile application using programming languages such as HTML, JavaScript, and Python. Once you've reached this level, then the world is your oyster. The final building block is the level that is the level where you are able to use a vast array of coding. So you're not even limited to one when you've started off with one, then you are able to grow and venture into other different languages, depending obviously on your interests around coding and whether or not you want to build your career in coding. Right. So let's look at professional coding versus scratch coding. I think we spoke a bit about this in the previous slide, where we're just saying that, you know, scratch coding speaks to the block coding, which sits on the second on the second layer of skills required for coding, and then professional coding sits right at the top, where you are now using coding languages such as JavaScript. You are using such languages such as HTML, and you are able to develop applications, websites to a certain extent. You are actually even possibly the builder of this block coding, because in order to have this block coding, there's some element of coding from the level 1 type of coders. So what is Scratch? So Scratch is a block-based type of visual programming. It was developed by MIT Media Lab. It allows users to create interactive stories, animations, games, music, and art. So it's a very creative type of space, and where you are able to solve problems if you are keen on doing so. And I think what's nice about Scratch is that it's got pockets of communities. So if you are interested in animation, that you would most likely find a community that's there, and their focus is on animation, and they are learning from each other on how. So it's almost like communities of practice, where they meet together from time to time. Where they're not able to meet, they are able to build some animations, share these animations for others to view, and the next person is able to view these animations and probably try and build on what is already there. So it is really just about being creative, and being able to explore your creativity in different ways. And like I indicated, you are able to share your creations with the Scratch communities. And what's lovely about it is that it's free. So there's no point where you are required to pay for Scratch. It's all free. The only cost that's attached to it, obviously, is that you would be connected to the internet for the best experience, especially when you're looking to grow from other people's experiences. But where you are just looking to learn the basics, you are able to download an offline type of version for the basic type of skills. But why Scratch? Why do you even want to venture into Scratch? I think the elements around Scratch is that it builds a lot of essential skills that are required out there. And when we say essential skills, we're looking at elements around patience. If you've worked around Scratch or any coding element for that matter, you realize that you need a lot of patience, because it's not as easy as just building. But sometimes you work on building and you realize that something isn't working. So you need to go back and start thinking about how you can make it better. I'm going to pause there a bit. I am getting some someone has unmuted their mic. Can I request that we please make sure that so we were speaking about patience. There's elements around problem solving. I think we started off with that. And there's the element around being able to be creative and prepare for the unfolding of a particular story, especially when you are looking to use Scratch for storytelling. It requires a lot of focus, because once you start building today and you get tired from obviously working, you can't keep away from it for too long, because it's almost project based. So you need to focus and make sure that whatever it is you're trying to get to, you eventually get to complete the projects. And I think I'm not the greatest example of this, because I've started so many projects that have not been completed on my personal platform. But when I think about the depth within Scratch, you realize that it builds skills of being able to focus, especially where you're looking to start and actually complete a project and be happy about it. It also, because it requires patience and there's a lot of trial and error, it builds resilience. And builds elements around confidence, because as you do it, you realize that it's okay to make mistakes. And from our mistakes, we learn different things, because all the elements that are in Scratch, you're not going to learn in one day, but you are then able to realize that with the mistake that you've made, you've potentially learned how to do something that you wouldn't have ordinarily learned how to do if it wasn't for that mistake. So we are able then to build confidence around that from those elements. And then there's also elements around collaboration, especially where there's communities, like I indicated, where, if you're looking at using Scratch for elements around animation or storytelling, there's pockets of communities, and you are able then to complete projects within those different communities, and those spaces could be spaces of collaboration. So, and because there's collaboration, obviously what's key in collaboration are the elements around communication. So there are a lot of elements that one is able to learn from using Scratch, especially if you are looking to learn to use Scratch and be consistent in your learning. And it's not just because it's a Scratch week. Now we've got to look at this thing, and after the Scratch week, it's gone and we forget about it. What I've also realized is that there are elements that you can use within Scratch that speaks to learning mathematics. So yeah, if you are an educator, you can use Scratch for teaching mathematics. And I think some of those elements will show as we play around with Scratch. Right, let's take a moment and look at an example of a Scratch project.
I'm pretty sure my first project was a ball moving. From there, I just added it, like from a ball, I just made a chicken moving, and then after that, I made a horse moving, and then I slowly started making a little like talking animation. Right now, I'm working on 10 projects. I'm working on 3 games and 7 animations. One project I'm really working on a lot is it's called #HashBrowns. It's another show I'm making. Well, I just love it so much. It's really great.
So you can see that the younger guys really love it, and I love it. I think they love it because there's a lot of colors involved. There's a lot of creativity that goes. So it's a space where they can actually be free and be themselves. And I must attest that when I shared the Scratch platform with my nieces and nephews, they really enjoyed it. It was tiring for some because they couldn't get the concept right, and where they couldn't get it right, I tried to help. So it almost was able to create an environment for family to work together in building a particular project. And once things started falling into place with the particular one that we were working on, then there was great excitement about potential projects that they could be working on within the platform. So the platform can also be used as a tool for parents to use with their children, where communication may have been a barrier or may be a hurdle. Then you are able to use such tools to actually build relationships, and whilst building the other essential skills within that are found through using the Scratch platform. Right, let's try and move to the next slide. Right, so let's look at Scratch and see how we join. What you will need to do is when you do join, let me just quickly share a link within the chat box so that we all have the link to Scratch. What I'll do is I'll share this in the chat box, and that's the link that you will use to access Scratch. So it will be scratch.mit.edu, and then when you click on that, you will see that on the right hand side you have the option to join Scratch, or you have the option to sign in. So in the event you have an account already, it's just a matter of signing in, and in the event you don't have an account, then you take the option to join. And then once you have joined, you will realize that right in the center, once you've joined and followed all the steps to prep your workplace, you will realize that there's a page that looks like this, and this page is actually your workspace, right? And on the left hand side will be the code of blocks. So these will be your instructions and your programming instructions. They sit on the left hand side, and right below you have your program. So whatever it is that you are doing or what you are trying to do will sit here. So if you've started moving some of the blocking elements, and you want to, for instance, if you wanted to a possible image to move around, you would use the block codes on the left, and then you would be moving them onto where the program sits, right? And then on the right hand side here at the bottom are what we call the sprites, and the sprites will be all the characters or the actors of whatever it is that you're trying to build. You are able to select from a range of sprites that are there, and on the right hand side next to the arrow here, you are able to change your background, your backdrop. And on the top right hand side, you see that you have your stage. This is where you see your sprite actors in action. So when you've put your code together here, you've selected your actors here, your sprites here, and you are able to change your sprite name. So it won't always be sprite as indicated on the page. Yeah, your sprites will sit here, and then right on the top right hand corner is where the action takes place after you've started coding or designing you started designing your code. So this will be the very same page that we've just seen, but we're now breaking it down into more detail on some of the elements that you are able to see. So when you've logged in, you will realize that on the top of the page, you will have your language. So you've got the option to change your languages. You have the option to save your files, all the work that you do. And then right there at the top, you're also able to save your project name. So any type of file that you create or that you start, it's called a project. And that project, then you are able to give a name to. We indicated that here on the left-hand side are all the blocks for the coding. On the left-hand side, you will see that there's a tab that says code right next to it. There's a tab for costumes and sound. So these are the three different elements that you are able to change for your coding and your sprite, in fact, for your sprite movements. then, yeah, so this is where you would switch your views. And then you would obviously select your blocks from the ones listed here. And this is where your code would sit in the page here. And then you are able to add extensions like a pen or the microbits, where you are extending Scratch and you're looking to add elements around robotics. And then on the right-hand side, you have the option to enlarge your screen. So if you want to see this in full action, you have that option of enlarging the screen. And then this is where the program runs. And right here at the bottom, I think I indicated within the previous screen that you are able to change your sprite name, all right? And then you are able to also select a backdrop, which would be your background. And then, yeah, you right here at the bottom will be where your sprites sit. So once you've selected, you will see that it will highlight in a particular color, or it will have some form of shadow behind it, meaning that whatever code that you're writing here, or whatever coding blocks you're moving towards the center, the animation will then work towards the sprite that's selected at the current or in the moment. You also have the option to zoom in, if you wanted to see the features in a closer view. As indicated, there's the backdrop option, and then you are able to add more sprites. So your stage here can have more than one sprite, but you must remember that when you've selected a sprite, it's got its own page. So if I were to select another sprite by selecting this, then it would open a blank page, and I would be able to code and tell, or rather, yeah, inform the sprite what I would like it to do. Right. And then when we take a closer look at the top, we've got this flag, and this flag here is an indication that when you want to start a program, or when you want to see how the coding that you've just put starts running, or how when you want to see the action of the coding that you've just put in place, then you would utilize this flag for start, and the red button on the right hand side would be your stop button. I got some feedback again, so I'm going to pause a bit and see if there's anybody who's raised their hand or shared a comment in the chat box. I'm going to pause a bit, and they've indicated that I'm sounding better. All right. So when you so how the coding, the actual block coding unfolds is you have your blocks on the side here, and you will have your motion, your looks. So if you wanted to change how the sprite looks, the sound, the events, the controls, the sensing. So everything that you want your sprite to do, you select the block from the left-hand side. I think it would be on your right-hand side, and then you move it onto the right-hand side where your workspace basically. And then with all the different actions that you want your sprite to do, you are then able to snap the different blocks together in order to form a sort of a paragraph of some sort, informing the sprite what to do. So this code is what tells the sprite to do. It speaks to the animations it speaks to the animations or the sprites or the characters that we choose on the right-hand side. All right, and then like we indicated again in the previous slide, this is a closer view of how you would add your sprite. You will see that on the right-hand side at the bottom, you will have your different sprites that you've selected. You will see that this one here that's highlighted in a blue shade is the one that sits here. And every code then that will sit here will be coding this guy here. And this guy will not get any coding because he's not highlighted in blue, so he's inactive unless you move your cursor to that particular sprite, and then you are then able to code this particular guy. So when you move around the different sprites, you've got to remember with the codes that you're putting together, which one am I speaking to? Which one do I need to be doing the action that's being done? And then you will see something that looks almost like a teddy bear face. That's where you click for adding your different sprites. And then you are able to then add your background. And when you add your background next to this teddy bear looking type of character, there's an icon that says background. So you click on that and there will be an array of options, and then you just select the one that will work for the project that you're trying to put together or the project that you're designing. And as indicated, I think earlier again, that what you have on the left-hand side are all the action items that you want your sprites to do, right? So if you wanted your sprite to speak, then you would go to the option that says sound. And under sound, then you'd be able to either record a particular sound, or you would be able to add a sound that's there by default. And then that element will then be moved into the coding. Right, and then you have the option to make your sprite change color. You will see right there at the bottom what it says here. It says you will click on the sprite you want to change color, and then under the looks category, which will be again on this panel on the left hand side, you drag the color in that you would like, and then when you drag the color, it would change your sprite. So elements around changing your color would sit under the looks. Now we're going to pause a bit, and I am hopefully going to follow the instruction in the next slide, and we'll try out how to use Scratch, and hopefully the different elements that we've just demonstrated or just showed will help us in achieving the goal that we are meant to be achieving for the next activity, right? So the next challenge, the challenge says add an apple in Sprite and put it in the right-hand side of the screen. So now I guess I'm going to stop presenting in this view so that you have access to my entire screen, and then we will together follow the instructions and see how this falls into place or into play. That they are able to see my page. Right, so you will see that I was busy with the project here. But before we get to the project, I just want us to follow the instruction on the actual presentation. On the presentation, right? So when you've signed in and you've created your account and you've signed in, this would be the page that you are faced with, right? You will see that on the right-hand side there will be my profile, and then it will be my stuff. So my stuff will be all the projects that I've been creating. And then there will be account settings and the option, obviously, to sign out. And then there's a folder here that sits right next to the profile, and it contains all your projects. So this is where all your projects would sit. And when we click on all the projects, you will see that these are some of the projects that I've been working on, and there's been a lot of trial and error with some of my projects, but I've saved all of them, and when I do find time, I will go to them and see how I can complete them, right? And then you will see that there at the top, there's an option to add a new project or add a new studio, right? And then on the left-hand, on the left side of the portfolio or file folder, there's the there's your messages. So this works if you are part of different communities and you have some engagements with the people in those communities, then all your communication will be sitting will be sitting there. Right after the search block, you will see there's the about. So this will share all the information about Scratch, all the how it started and how people are engaging on the platform and things like that. And then under ideas is where you can play around in terms of building your skills. When you're looking at exploring and trying to learn from other projects and trying to better your skills, you look under ideas and start looking at the simple projects that you think you'd be able to reach, and then you start playing around there. The explore option also will speak to some of the ideas that are currently out there, and then you will see that under explore, there's different types of coding elements that have been placed here. So if you are interested in animation, you'd obviously follow the animation link. If you are interested in art or games or any of the different items there, you just follow one of them and then it would guide you. What I like as well are the elements around tutorials, because where you get stuck in terms of how to move your sprite or how to make it turn 180 degrees to the left and things like that, you are able to follow the tutorials and it will guide you on how you get to that particular element, right? But now what we're trying to do is we're trying to create. So we're going to click on create a project, and you will see as soon as I clicked on create, by default, sprite wami is this wild cat. Oh, sorry. Yeah, by default, my sprite is this cat, and then my project doesn't have a title, so we will need to give this project a title. And if you remember, the presentation said add an Apple sprite and put it on the right-hand side of the screen. So we will call this project Apple Project. Right, so, and we're going to delete the sprite again because the project doesn't speak about cats. It says we must find an apple. And then we go right at the bottom, and then you see it says choose a sprite. You select your sprite, and then you will see all the different elements. It speaks about apple. Did it say anything about the color? So you just add an apple. So our sprite currently will be the apple, and you will see that it sits right here. And then it said we select the apple and put it on the right-hand side of the screen. So I will move it to the right-hand side of the screen. And then move your sprite to the left on the screen. Now we're supposed to command this apple to move to the left-hand side. See, you will see that it's highlighted, it's got a shadow at the back. So what we're trying to do to sprite is we are trying to, under the code motion, we are trying to make it move, let's say move 10 steps. And then we are trying also to make it, let's control it and say when we click on the flag, we want it to move 10 steps. And then we're trying to, what else are we trying to do? Or we're also trying to change the backdrop, but it doesn't say to what color. So let's look at the backdrop and see what color or what backdrop we can choose. Okay, let's just choose a plain backdrop. So we've changed our backdrop to blue. Make your sprite walk across the screen and make your sprite walk across the screen until she reaches the apple. Okay, so we are supposed to select another sprite who will be moving towards the apple. Okay, so I deleted the cat, but it's fine. What we can do is we can select a sprite. I'll select walking Ivory, and he'll be on the right, and I'll change her name to Caps because that's me, and I love apples, and I want to move. Let's look at motion. Let's move 10 steps towards the apple, and we want to move towards the apple when we click on the green button, right? And then what do we want to do? Maybe let's put a bit of flair on the challenge. Okay, let's see what the challenge says first. Say yum when she reaches the apple. Okay, so we've got taps, and when we click here, she's moving along with the apple, but she's only making one step. Let's move that to 20. Let me just delete this one first and keep taps, right? So that we code taps. So taps is moving towards the apple. And we want her to move. Where's the motion? Let's make her move. Let's change it to, what do we say? Y axis. By 10. And then let's repeat. Let's control it and place it on repeat 10 times. No, why is it moving up? No, sorry about that. Let me just take it back again and let me just take it all back again. So what we want to do is we want to repeat 10 times, and the motion that we wanted to do is move 10 steps, right? And we want it to the bottom. Come now. And then when we click on that, we want it. She's moving so fast. Okay. Right, so we've got her moving towards the apple. But I want to move her when we click on the space bar instead of the flag. So we'll remove the flag and use the space bar rather. I'm not getting this right, you see. So we when pressing the space bar, we want her, let's do controls, to move 20 times. 20 times. We don't want it to repeat 20 times. We want it to repeat 10 and move 20 steps. Right. So you'll see that when I press on my space bar, taps is moving. But now what we want to do is we want to add our apple. Let's choose sprite, select, and then we put our apple there. Right, now we want to code the apple, and what we want to do is we want to go to sound, right? In fact, let's go back to her. Let's go back to taps. Now, when she moves and reaches the apple, we want to insert sound. It has now subsided. Right. So what we were doing now is we were trying to add sounds. And what we did is from our code, right? We went on to sounds. And what we are able to do is we are able to include a pop sound, but there's the option of recording sound. Now I'm trying to see where this option is. We are not looking for the pop sound. Yeah, so you are able to then choose a sound, right? So if you've recorded a sound that said yummy within the background of your system, you're then able to choose the sound that you want to choose. Let's see if there's a sound that sounds like yummy that we can use. A voice. I guess this will have to do for now. There's the yeah. And then we play. Ooh, sounds horrible. But we'll use that yeah sound. Ooh. Yeah, we'll use that yeah sound. And then go back to our code, right? Play sound, you'll see that yeah sound by default is now showing under play sound yeah until done. But you now have to select the yeah that you want, or alternatively you have the option to record. And in this instance, I think Ufengi said yummy. So we'll go on and record yummy, and then stop it and save it. And then under our code, it should be reflecting as recording one. And then we are able to place that there. So what we'll do now is with a space, we'll be yummy. And then she says yummy. I think what we need to do is we need to increase the number of steps, perhaps, so that as we press the space bar, yummy, see towards the apple. Let's see if there's another command or if we're doing it right. Make your sprite walk across the screen until she reaches the apple and say yum. Oh, the word is yum. Sorry about that. I said yum when she reaches the apple. Add a 2-second block control category after this yum block so that he won't turn green immediately. Okay. So after the recording of yummy, we've got to go back to motion. And what we want to do is we wait for I think she said 2 seconds, right? For 2 seconds, block control category after so that he won't turn green immediately after saying yum. Okay, so in my case, I don't think this will turn green because I didn't use that flag option, right? So this would work as if you use that flag option. But when you play when you do your space, in my case, yummy, right? And then she says yummy. So my friend has moved from the left to the right, trying to reach the apple. And when she gets to the apple, she says yummy. That's the task that we were supposed to do for this demonstration. Now, what I'm going to share is a project that I was working on just before the session, so that we see some of the elements that one is able to complete. So let's go to my folder. Let's go to my folder. And then you will see that I was trying to build a game here. So I'll open that. So the idea behind this game, let's go see inside. Also, the other thing is when you open your projects, when you open the project, it will reflect as this, where you are able to put down instructions in the event. It's a game. So here I was trying to build a game. So you will put down the instructions and some possible notes right here at the bottom on how people can possibly, you know, build this game that I'm trying to build. But if you're looking to work on the project, then you see inside, and then it takes you back to that coding space. Right, so you will see here what I did is I added sprites. I've got here tabs, right? And I've got my balls here. The idea is that I was trying to build a game where every time I click on the space bar, these balls move towards tabs, and then tabs jumps over the ball. And every time she's able to jump over the ball, then the score here increases. Right? So what did I do? I went to sprites, right? And then I added a sprite. In this event, I think I added Ivory. Ne? After that, I changed the background. So you select here, you choose the background that you want to work with. And in this case, I selected the beach Malibu, right? After selecting the beach Malibu, what I did is then I commanded, let me go to tabs. I commanded tabs that every time I press the space bar, there will be a pop sound to indicate that my game is starting, you know, and that sits under the sounds. And then I wanted this, and then I wanted her to move up and down because she's jumping over the balls. So she changes by Y 10 times, but I needed to do the same so that she's able to go up and down. Remember, what goes up must come down. So you change by X 10 times, and then you change by Y by minus 10. But you change by Y minus 10 times so that it's a reflection that the person is going down instead of going up. So the positive on the Y-axis will be going up, and the negative will be going down. And I set repeat for all of them because she'll be going up and down trying to jump these balls. What I also included is the element around variables, and variables is commanding tabs that every time she jumps a ball, then it means she gains a point. So because it's a game with all the balls that she manages to jump, then she gains a point, right? And then you will see that I have a sprite, another sprite here called the ball. What I did with the ball is I then said every time we click on the flag, a ball must be released from the right-hand side, and it must glide towards the left-hand side. So every time we click on the flag, we move the ball from the right-hand side. It's go to X-axis to Y-axis. But what happens here is that when you move the ball, then automatically the axes change here, and it's just a matter of moving the block to the workspace. And then what you say is the ball glides, and every 4 seconds, with every 4 seconds, a new ball then will come. And then I inserted a control that says this must happen forever until it will only stop if I land on the ball and I don't manage to climb over the ball, right? So when I don't manage to climb over the ball, then the game stops and it indicates that the game is over. Right, so what happens here is, like I'm saying, I'm hoping it will work. Let's test it, right? So I'm going to click and do my space bar. You will see because I didn't catch it on time, I stepped on the ball and then it stopped. We'll try again. You'll see the ball is moving up from the right-hand side. Jump. I missed it again. Let's try for the last time. There we go. I got one. and I miss that one, and the game ends. So basically, that's what block coding is about. It's a lot of trial and error, but if you keep on practicing, you get better over time. I must say that every time I prepare for a session, there's got to be things that I try to remember and try to infuse with the next session. And every time I prepare, I get better. And this is how I managed to now create this game. Right. So we'll go back to the presentation and see if there are any more challenges. So there aren't any more challenges for now, but we wanted to share the 30-day Scratch challenge with you. This challenge has got stories, has got games and animations embedded within it. So what happens is there's day 1 to day 30, and each day you are completing a task, right? So for day 1, where do you start? You create a Scratch account and you join. That's all you need to do for day 1. Day 2, you start creating. You click on create and explore the Scratch layout, just like we've been doing now. Day 3, you learn the basics, and then you follow through this entire path for 30 days, and it will get you hooked to Scratch. Please try and make sure that you follow through this 30-day Scratch challenge. My colleague, I'm sure, will share a link to the challenge in the chat box, and then you can follow and grow in your coding. Thank you very much for joining today's session. If there are any questions, any comments about the sessions, anything else that you are keen on asking about within the session, please feel free to ask the questions in the chat box. If there's any engagement from the team, please make sure that you share the engagement so that we learn and grow together. Thank you.